There is one mineral your sciatic nerve needs every single day to maintain the protective coating around its fibers. The coating that keeps the nerve insulated, keeps its signals traveling correctly, and keeps its pain threshold from dropping lower and lower with every passing month. And right now, today, most seniors over 60 are significantly deficient in it, not slightly low, significantly deficient. Without enough of this mineral, the protective myelin sheath around your sciatic nerve fibers cannot be maintained. It thins, it degrades, the nerve becomes progressively more exposed to the inflammatory environment surrounding it, more hypersensitive, more easily triggered, more painful, and no supplement, no stretch, and no dietary change can reverse this myelin degradation as long as this one mineral remains deficient. That mineral is copper. And tonight I am telling you exactly what it does for your sciatic nerve, exactly how deficiency develops after 60, and exactly how to restore it starting today. And real quick, right now, drop a comment below and tell me 3 things: your age, your city, and how many months you have been dealing with sciatica. I read every single comment personally. Age, city, how long, drop it now. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button immediately. Every week, this channel brings you the information most appointments never cover. Now let us get completely into this. My name is Dr. Michael Kent, 20 years working with seniors managing sciatica. And tonight I want to focus on something that most discussions about copper and sciatica completely overlook. Not the disc collagen angle, not the general nerve function angle, something far more specific, far more directly relevant to why your sciatic nerve pain never fully resolves regardless of how many anti-inflammatory interventions you add. The myelin sheath, and what copper specifically does to maintain it, and what copper deficiency specifically does to destroy it in the sciatic nerve of a senior over 60. Before the science, a story. Details changed to protect privacy. A patient came to me, a senior in their early 70s, who had been managing sciatica for approximately 19 months. Everything about their case was textbook. Herniated disc at L4 to L5, consistent left-sided sciatica, standard treatment approach. Their pain had come down from a peak of 8 to a plateau of 4 that had refused to move for the previous 6 months. Comprehensive supplement protocol, daily stretching, consistent walking, nothing moving the needle further. During a detailed nutritional assessment, I asked about their diet specifically regarding copper-rich foods. Their response was revealing. They ate almost no shellfish, no liver or organ meats, minimal nuts and seeds. A diet that, while generally clean and anti-inflammatory, was providing a fraction of the copper their body needed for optimal myelin maintenance in the sciatic nerve. A blood copper level test confirmed significant deficiency. We implemented a targeted copper restoration protocol, food-based primarily with a low-dose supplement. 6 weeks later, their pain score was 2.5. The myelin around their sciatic nerve fibers, which had been thinning silently for months, had begun to recover. The nerve that had been losing its insulation was finally getting what it needed to maintain it. Tonight, exactly what copper does to myelin, exactly why deficiency is so common after 60, and exactly how to restore it. Here is the biology, simply and completely. Your sciatic nerve fibers, like all peripheral nerve fibers in your body, are wrapped in a protective insulating layer called the myelin sheath. Think of myelin exactly like the plastic insulation around an electrical wire. Without that insulation, the wire shorts. Signals misfire. In your nerve, without adequate myelin, signals travel erratically, pain threshold drops, and the nerve becomes hypersensitive to stimuli that should not produce significant pain. Myelin is not a static structure. It is continuously maintained and repaired by specialized cells called Schwann cells that wrap around peripheral nerve fibers. Schwann cells are constantly breaking down old myelin and synthesizing new myelin to replace it, a process called myelin turnover. And this myelin synthesis process is completely dependent on copper through a specific and essential enzymatic pathway. Here is the critical enzyme. Cytochrome C oxidase, the terminal enzyme of the mitochondrial electron transport chain in Schwann cells, requires copper as a structural cofactor to function. Without adequate copper, cytochrome C oxidase activity falls. Without adequate cytochrome C oxidase, the Schwann cells cannot produce the ATP energy needed to synthesize new myelin proteins and myelin lipids at the rate required to maintain the sheath. Myelin synthesis slows. Myelin breakdown continues at its normal rate. The sheath progressively thins, and the sciatic nerve becomes progressively less insulated and progressively more painful. Now here is where it gets really important. Stay with me. This is not a dramatic, sudden process. It is gradual, silent, occurring over months of subclinical copper deficiency. Deficiency that is below the threshold for clinical diagnosis but significant enough to impair the cytochrome C oxidase activity that myelin synthesis depends on. The nerve does not suddenly lose its myelin, it loses a little each week, month by month. The pain threshold drops a little lower, the nerve becomes a little more easily triggered. The burning quality of the sciatica becomes a little more persistent and a little more resistant to treatment. Research published in the journal Brain confirmed that copper deficiency produced measurable and progressive demyelination, myelin loss, in peripheral nerve fibers. The researchers found that the demyelination was directly proportional to the degree and duration of copper deficiency, with longer and more severe deficiency producing more extensive myelin loss and more significant nerve conduction impairment. Critically, the research also found that copper restoration produced measurable remyelination. The Schwann cells began rebuilding the myelin sheath when copper became available again. The process is reversible. The damage is not permanent if caught and addressed, but it continues and worsens as long as the deficiency persists. Now here is the second mechanism, and this one is completely separate from myelin and addresses the nerve's pain regulation directly. Copper is an essential component of copper-zinc superoxide dismutase, one of the primary antioxidant enzymes protecting peripheral nerve cells from oxidative damage. This enzyme sits in the cytoplasm of nerve cells and continuously neutralizes the superoxide radicals produced by the chronic inflammation surrounding the sciatic nerve. When copper is deficient, copper-zinc superoxide dismutase activity falls. Superoxide radicals accumulate in the nerve cell cytoplasm. They damage cell membranes, they impair mitochondrial function, and they activate inflammatory signaling pathways that amplify the nerve's pain response. This is a second simultaneous mechanism through which copper deficiency makes sciatica worse. Completely independent of the myelin mechanism, reduced antioxidant protection in the nerve cells themselves, not just reduced myelin maintenance around them. Two mechanisms, both directly worsening the sciatic nerve's inflammatory burden and pain sensitivity, both reversible with copper restoration, both operating silently in most seniors over 60 whose dietary copper intake has declined with age. Why is copper deficiency so common in seniors over 60 specifically? 4 reasons that compound each other. First, dietary shifts. Most seniors eat significantly less shellfish, organ meats, and nuts than younger adults, the 3 highest density copper food sources. The standard senior diet of lean meats, cooked vegetables, cereals, and dairy provides very little copper relative to the body's requirements. Second, zinc supplementation. Many seniors take zinc supplements, often recommended for immune function, wound healing, or prostate health. Zinc and copper compete for the same intestinal absorption transporters. High zinc intake, particularly from supplements, directly reduces copper absorption by displacing it at the intestinal transport level. A senior taking zinc supplements without copper supplementation is almost certainly copper deficient regardless of their dietary intake. Third, reduce stomach acid. Copper absorption from food requires adequate stomach acid to free copper ions from food proteins. Stomach acid production declines significantly with age, and the proton pump inhibitor medications that many seniors take for acid reflux further suppress it. Less stomach acid means less copper absorption from every meal regardless of how much copper-containing food is consumed. Fourth, increased oxidative demand. Chronic sciatica itself increases the body's consumption of copper-dependent antioxidant enzymes, increasing copper demand at exactly the time when copper intake and absorption have already declined. The deficiency deepens progressively as the inflammation continues. Now here is exactly how to restore your copper levels correctly. Through food first and supplements second. The 5 highest dietary sources of copper available at any grocery store are the following. Beef liver. 3 ounces of cooked beef liver provides approximately 12 milligrams of copper, 6 times the recommended daily intake. This is by far the most concentrated dietary copper source available. If you can tolerate liver, even 1 to 2 servings per week provides a substantial contribution to copper restoration. If the flavor is too strong, chicken liver is significantly milder and provides approximately 3 milligrams of copper per 3-ounce serving. Shellfish, specifically oysters and crab. 3 ounces of cooked oysters provides approximately 4 to 5 milligrams of copper. 3 ounces of cooked crab provides approximately 1 milligram. If shellfish is accessible and affordable, 2 to 3 servings per week is a meaningful contribution. Dark chocolate, 1 ounce of dark chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher, provides approximately 1 milligram of copper alongside the flavonoid antioxidants that independently benefit nerve tissue. Daily dark chocolate consumption as a copper source is genuinely supported by the nutritional evidence and is the most enjoyable copper restoration strategy available. Cashews and sunflower seeds. 1 ounce of cashews provides approximately 0.6 milligrams of copper. 1 ounce of sunflower seeds provides approximately 0.5 milligrams. A daily handful of either provides a consistent, meaningful contribution to daily copper intake without any preparation requirement. Shiitake mushrooms. 3 ounces of cooked shiitake mushrooms provides approximately 1.3 milligrams of copper alongside the beta-glucan immune-modulating compounds that independently benefit nerve inflammation. Adding shiitake mushrooms to regular meals 3 to 4 times per week provides both the copper and the complementary anti-inflammatory benefit. For supplementation, if dietary sources are insufficient or if blood testing confirms significant deficiency, copper glycinate or copper bisglycinate at 2 milligrams daily is the evidence-supported therapeutic dose for adults with deficiency-related nerve conditions. Available at Whole Foods, Vitamin Shop, and Amazon. Always take copper supplements with food, not on an empty stomach, to reduce the mild nausea that copper can produce when absorbed too rapidly. And if you are taking zinc supplements, take copper at a different meal from zinc to prevent the absorption competition that makes zinc supplementation a common driver of copper deficiency. Give the food-based and supplementation protocol 6 weeks before evaluating your sciatic nerve pain results. Myelin remyelination is a biological process that requires time. Schwann cells need adequate copper continuously available over weeks to synthesize new myelin at a rate that meaningfully improves nerve insulation. Most people notice the first shift in their sciatica pain character between weeks 3 and 5, specifically the burning hypersensitive quality of the pain beginning to reduce as myelin thickness gradually improves and the nerve's pain threshold begins to recover. Track your morning pain score every single day. Rate it 1 to 10. After 6 weeks, compare your average to your baseline. The gradual upward movement in pain threshold that copper restoration produces is often experienced not as less pain but as less easily triggered pain first, the nerve requiring more stimulus to fire before the overall pain intensity begins to decline. The patient from our story followed the food protocol for 6 weeks, adding liver twice weekly, daily dark chocolate, cashews as a daily snack, and shiitake mushrooms to meals 3 times per week. No supplement required, the dietary changes alone were sufficient to restore copper to functional levels. 6 weeks, pain from 4 to 2.5. The myelin that had been thinning for 19 months had begun rebuilding. The nerve that had been losing its insulation had finally received what it needed to maintain it. In 20 years of practice, the most consistent observation I have made about sciatica that never fully resolves despite comprehensive treatment is this: something foundational is missing. Sometimes it is a gut issue, sometimes it is a sleep issue, sometimes it is a mechanical issue that has never been properly addressed. And sometimes, more often than most practitioners check for, it is a mineral deficiency so fundamental that no amount of anti-inflammatory intervention fully compensates for it. Copper and myelin is one of those foundational deficiencies. It does not announce itself loudly. It degrades silently, and it responds clearly when the deficiency is identified and corrected. Now, before you go, drop a comment right now. Tell me your age and your city. And tell me, do you eat copper-rich foods regularly? Do you take zinc supplements without copper? I read every single comment personally. Share this with someone whose sciatica has plateaued despite everything they have tried. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week this channel brings you something equally specific and equally foundational. 6 weeks, copper-rich foods daily, the myelin your sciatic nerve has been losing finally starts coming back. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. All patient stories have been changed to protect privacy. Individual results vary. Copper supplementation should not exceed 2 milligrams daily without medical supervision. Excessive copper intake can cause serious toxicity. Those with Wilson's disease should never supplement copper. Always test copper levels with your healthcare provider before supplementing. If you take zinc supplements, discuss copper balance with your provider. Dr. Michael Kent is a senior health educator with 20 years of experience in senior wellness, not a licensed physician. Again, nothing here is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any condition. Never delay seeking professional medical advice because of content you have watched online. Viewer discretion advised.